your CIGTV News Update, I'm April Cummings in for Donna Bush. The government agency responsible for disaster management is working to increase civil servants' familiarity with its world-class crisis management software. This week, some 50 individuals from a range of government agencies and non-governmental organizations took part in an extended training session on the Web EOC software, which hazard management uses in real-life crises and in annual exercises. Preparedness and Planning Officer Teresita Da Silva explains how the software functions in a disaster.
So this week, HMCI found it necessary to put on a training regarding our Web EOC software. And this software is a crisis management software that we utilize whenever the NEOC is operating. And what this does, it helps us to track our response, recovery, as well as manage the overall event so that everyone that is operating and responding to this event has the same, awareness and picture of what we're all doing. That way we're not operating in silo. And what we're trying to promote with this training is that we don't only have to use this software during an emergency. It can be used on a monthly basis with the police or the fire, so that they're more comfortable with using this software and they don't have the added stress of trying to figure out how to operate the software when it comes to a real life event if there's been a significant time that they have not used it. So this training, we're trying to make sure that everyone is familiar with the boards, they know exactly what to do, and there's no issues when they are called to operate in the NEOC.
Ms. Da Silva notes that in addition to enhanced communications, the software allows for remote access.
The importance of this software is that it can be accessed from anywhere with an internet connection. So you don't actually have to come into the NEOC to operate. Persons can be in this building as well as within their own local EOC, and they can still communicate. So it kind of removes that need to be in a central location. Persons can be operating in the field, in their own home, or in this building, and we can all still operate as a team and as a unit to reach the same goal of responding, recovering, and managing the situation. And this also allows us to track and keep a history of everything that's done. So in the future, we can always look back and see, what went well, what didn't work, and continue to improve our response to any event.
10 people took part in a course that will allow them to train other Web EOC users. And going forward, these individuals will conduct end-user training for NEOC staff on a quarterly basis. An increase in the number of annual practice activations is expected to further ensure a high level of proficiency with this crisis management tool. Road safety stakeholders wrap up 4 days of discussions at the Ritz-Carlton. Keynote speaker, the road safety expert Michael Dresnes, Vice President of the International Road Federation, praised the National Roads Authority for organizing the conference. Mr. Dresnes outlined to CIGTV some of the key steps that go into designing safer roads.
We often say if you see something, say something. There's a lot of times that you don't have the expertise necessarily. I know, for example, with my wife will point things out on the road that I don't see, again, because maybe I'm blinded to it because I don't see the forest because of the tree. She'll point things out. I think it's the same thing with us, especially if tourists that are coming here. You got to make your roads what we call self-explanatory. Keep them coming from the U.S., number one, you're driving on the opposite side of the road to start with, okay? And if those signs are not really clearly defined, especially with the number of roundabouts in the area, where people are maybe not familiar with them, you got to go that extra mile to make sure that people are comfortable driving on those roads. And then make sure that you understand that people will make mistakes. A huge part of what we're teaching here is the concept of safe system approach. People will make mistakes, and you need to design your roads what we call forgiving roads, so that when people make the mistake, they don't pay for the mistake with capital punishment.
The international expert noted that traffic speed also plays an important role in saving lives.
And also we design our roads with the proper speed limits, understanding how much force the body can withstand, understand if there's pedestrians close to the road. That speed limit on that road should be 20 miles an hour. We're pedestrian. Otherwise, a pedestrian getting hit at 20 miles an hour, about a 10% chance of dying. You double that to about 40 miles an hour, that pedestrian is about a 90% chance of dying. So again, as a road authority, you have a responsibility in putting the proper speeds out there, giving the police the tools they need so they can enforce those speeds.
Mr. Dresnes stressed that vehicles and their features must also be taken into consideration.
There are vehicles, there are all these safety features that have been put into these vehicles. Well, if you don't require them, people are going to go to the cheapest common denominator. It's going to be a vehicle that gets me from point A to point B. I don't care about safety. somebody's got to care about your safety by putting in the requirements that a vehicle must meet to be able to be driven on the roads in Cayman.
Starting this week, Mr. Dresna's presentation and that of other speakers from the Cayman Islands' first ever road safety conference will air on CIGTV. Thank you for joining us for this CIGTV news update. Remember, you can catch us online anytime on our YouTube and Facebook channels. I'm April Cummings, in for Donna Bush.
Did you know that planning permission is required for a shed? Did you know you should check with the department as a planning and permit application may be required? Did you know planning permission is required to clear land by mechanical means? You should check with the department as a planning and permit application may be required.
Boating, fishing, and water sports in the Cayman Islands are great, but keep a cool head. Here are 7 tips for fun and safe sea outings. Number 1. Use a checklist to plan your outing. Check the weather forecast, make a float plan, and share it with someone who is remaining on land, stating where you're going, with whom, and when you're expected to return. Visit your nearest marine supply store to get your safety gear. This includes signaling mirrors, whistles, and a flare kit. It's also very important to have onboard flotation devices and life vests for each person. There are different types of vests. Some are for water sport activities such as snorkeling, and others are for going on offshore boating or on fishing trips. Number 2. These items can be lifesavers in case of an accident or bad weather. Number 3. Use a motor kill switch, especially if you're boating alone. In case of a leak or breakdown, always stay with the boat until help arrives. If you capsize, an emergency beacon or locator device can send a distress signal to inform the authorities of your location. Larger flares will indicate distress to a boat, airplane, or search and rescue officials. Number 4. In addition to sunscreen, food, and beverages, it would be smart to have a cell phone. Make sure your marine radio works. Cayman boaters use Channel 16 to communicate. Number 5. Also, don't forget your anchor and sufficient rope. Number 6. Boat operators should be familiar with the local waters and reefs, as well as the capabilities and functions of the vessels they are using. Always obey the rules of the sea and the marine environment, and have courtesy for others. Number 7. Alcohol and salt water do not mix, especially if you're the captain. Some useful contact numbers are 911. The RCIPS Marine Base is 649-7710, and the Port Authority is 949-2055. Smooth sailing, all!
Did you know that planning permission is required for an addition, alteration, or any material change to your house? The 10% rule no longer exists. Did you know you should check with the department as a planning and permit application may be required?